Welcome everybody to the first episode of Brothaz Talk with Luke J. I've been waiting to do this project for so long. I mean, Brothaz Talk is a podcast for all brothers of all diversities, races, cultures. We talk about men's issues today. A lot of us, a lot of men don't really talk, especially to each other. You know what I mean? Like they like to talk to their counselors or their girl. But I wanted to have a forum, an open forum for brothers to talk. And my first guest is a very personal friend of mine. He's a good brother. Before I bring him on, I want to tell him this right here. Him and his wife T came on my show on episode 20, my first season, Meant to Be. It's a 2-part episode about probably like the greatest couple I've ever seen in my life. His wife T came back on. She has a nonprofit organization called TEDRA, adult nonprofit organizations. If you with the adult profit organizations, give that one a chop out. She's a wonderful person on that one. Very well knowledgeable about everything down there in Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to stall this anymore. My man Donny Driggins from Philly. What's going on, Don?
What's happening, man? Good to have you. Thank you for having me back, brother. But you know what? Before we get started, Lou, I want to take this moment and acknowledge you. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because see, 30,000, brother. 30,000 ain't nothing to sleep on, man. That's you. Hey, man, listen. We done came a long way from the episode when we first hooked up on Meant to Be. You know what I mean? So congratulations, man. Thank you for what you do. And, thank you for this platform that you allow people like myself to come on here, man, and just be able to have conversations and speak their truth. Thank you, man. Thank you. We're going to do this again when we get to 50, all right?
Hey, bro. I'm trying to go as big as I can, man. And ladies and gentlemen, this man has preferred so many guests on there and continuously to support the show. I couldn't, got to this high never without some of the guests he has referred to me. I'm saying right now, I love this brother. But Donny, look, let's kick things off, right? I want to talk about one thing, right, that has affected men. It's like two different things. Getting your blood work checked, testosterone. When you came on the show, right, with your wife, right, you made a message, you have a good message about getting your blood work checked. How important that is. And a lot of brothers, a lot of men, this is just men, all nationalities do not get their blood work checked at all. They not test their testosterone levels, right? So I'm gonna read this off to you, right? It says how often to get your blood work done, right? It says for the 30s, this is for men. The 30s is every 3 years, okay? And their 40s every 2 to 3 years. In their 50s is every year, and the 70s on up is twice a year. So I want to start this episode, this segment off right here about how important it is to get your blood work checked. And matter of fact, let's start off with you. What made you go off and get your blood work checked? And how often did you do it coming up from this graph from the 30s all the way up? Because you gave a powerful message about that.
Okay, so coming up, I was like a lot of young people, man. Thought I was invincible. Got it done whenever I felt the need to get it done. And, which is a horrible way to go about, looking after your health and so forth. But like I said, you're young, man. You think you're invincible, nothing's going to happen to you. But as I got older, man, it was like, all right, well, I need to start creating better habits, make sure I get to the dentist twice a year, Or just one of them things was like, oh, man. But, now I'm good because I'm on top of it. So now I don't have those issues that I had before. You know what I'm saying? Like you go a long period of time, then it's like, oh, man, you feel like you're starting all over again. But once you get consistent with it, it's like clockwork, man. It's cake. But what happened was I got a buddy of mine I used to work with named Matt. Real good guy. And he was into weightlifting. And for me, being in the gym was just something that was sort of like a off and on, you know what I mean, type, something I was dealing with over the years. But watching this brother, watching his progression made me really kind of curious as far as, man, that might be something I might be interested in someday. And he was starting to explain some things to me. And he just said, listen, man, before you do anything, make sure you get your T levels looked at. So I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of thinking I get my blood work done once a year anyway. So nothing ever showed up. So once I did my research, I realized that that's not something that's included with your regular blood work. So I said, okay. So when I did go get it looked at, the doctor came back and looked at me like, well, are you feeling weak? Are you, uh, you know, are you not sexually stimulated? Or you not this, that? And I was like, nah, man, I'm good. He said, man, because your levels are low. And I'm like, all right, well, how low are we talking? Man, my levels came back. My T level was like a 64, dog. And I was like, no. You know what I mean? So I don't know if your listeners know, man, but for a man, my age, I should be at least 300 minimum. And I was like, man, so I'm just like, I'm in the gym, I'm working out, everything is good. And when I found that out, he started explaining to me the downsides to, having low T levels and so forth. My concern was not so much as the weightlifting part,
Yeah.
but it was the how it affects my bones and so forth. Because then you start getting into I forget, I don't know if it's osteoporosis, but it's one of those things that start affecting your bones if your T levels aren't where they need to be. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, shoot. So he recommended to a urologist. Went over there and started getting testosterone injections just to get everything where it needed to be. But if he wouldn't have said anything, I would have never known, man, because I wasn't showing any symptoms.
Yeah.
I was still working out. My energy levels was good, but I'd have never known unless I got it tested. So, I'm just thankful to him to point that out to me, man. But it's very important, man. Get your blood work looked at. No matter what you do, I don't care, if you're taking the smallest thing, because some people they got so many things that they sell that people try to just take. They're like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this to enhance this, or I'm gonna do this to stimulate this. Listen, get your levels looked at, because you especially when you start dealing with things, that can enhance because your muscle. I'm sorry, your heart is a muscle. So you start taking the wrong things, and next thing your heart is 2-3 times the size of what it should be, and now you're like, man, now you're really jammed up. So my thing is, I wouldn't recommend anybody just taking something because they see somebody else. One of the guys I like to follow is 8-time um, Olympian Phil Heath, and he's still
Right.
kind of slow. And his thing is, listen, don't just assume you need to take this or take that. Your body could just be naturally whatever. Go to the doctors. Go get your blood work done. So, I mean, that's just where I'm at with it, man. So when it comes to anything I put in my body, I'm making sure I'm getting blood work done, making sure that it agrees with me. Because, like I said, you might think, well, let me get this. Well, you don't realize, well, this is affecting that. So now that is all screwed up. Now you're trying to figure out, well, why is this all screwed up when I didn't have a problem? Well, you didn't have a problem before you started taking this, So do your research, get your blood work done, and live prosperous.
Bro, I can tell you right now, I'm glad you told me that day because
Yeah,
I didn't even think about I mean, like, when you get your blood work done, like,
right.
they just do basic stuff. I did not
Yeah,
realize that it was separate. It was a separate
yeah,
test. And a lot of men do not ask for that. Like, like I found out, like getting your hormones checked for women, and which we have ours too, is a separate
right,
test, which I did not know there either.
right.
So I want to let you know, when you talk about your levels is what, 46,
It was it's like 64 at the
64.
time. At the time, now it's a good range. I'm like 600-700, whatever, where I need to be at, for my age and so forth. And but man, if I didn't get it looked at, man, who knows where I would have been. Like I said, my thing was it wasn't so much as my energy, but the long-term effects that it might have caused on my body as far as my bones and my posture and just little things, man. I'm like, you only get one shot at this thing we call life, man, and I'm trying to live it to the best of my ability.
Bro, I'll tell you right, I'm glad you told that because the chart says for males you have to be between 300 to 1,000
Right.
for your T levels.
Right.
For females, and maybe I'm not that bright. I didn't know they had testosterone levels too. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I'm learning this stuff every day. For a female, it's from 15 to 70. And I was like, wow, I thought we only had that. And I'm like, so like I said, doing this podcast, man, you learn so much stuff back and forth. And especially with this brothers talk, right? Since this is the first one. And I'm gonna let other brothers out there when they watch this or when they want to come on and talk, chop it up. We can learn from each other. Because, ladies and
Right.
gentlemen, I did not know that until Donny said something in that episode when him and his wife came on.
Yeah.
It taught me something new.
Right. Because
Yeah.
once again, man, like you said, especially if you're working out like we work out,
Yeah.
you don't want to put something in your body that's going to boost your estrogen levels. You know what I mean? So now you walk around with these man boobs and you're like, wait a minute. I mean, we as men got estrogen, but that's more on the women's side, as far as high levels. But it's like, so now you're trying to figure out why your body is all disproportionate. Well, listen, go to the doctors to get your blood work right. That way they can guide you to what to and what not to put in your body, man. Bottom line. So,
Well, I tell you,
yeah,
brother, it says here for the charts after age 30, your levels decline 1 to 2% a year, which I did not know that. Okay. As of 2024. Now, Don, listen to this. This one had me bad for a little bit. Maybe you got a little spin on it. As of 2024, 39% of men 45 and older have low levels, averaging between I'm sorry, I should put my glass on for that one. Between 65 and 150
Wow.
as of 2024. So I mean, like you ain't know. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I want people to realize just how important that is. And it also says, sir, it's recommended to get your testosterone checked 2 to 3 times a year if you're a man over 45.
Wow.
Right now, right? And
Okay.
you put it out there, bro. You are amazing. I tell you right now. Right, I want to tell you now. I want to give you the reasons. Right, this is what I say the reasons why. Maybe you went through this as well. These are the reasons why men do not go get their blood work checked enough, just as much as women do. All right.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna give you the reasons. Maybe you can feel this because I can tell you I felt some of this because when I was younger, bro, from I say like 30s and maybe young 30s,
Yeah.
I was feeling some of these reasons. I don't know if you was feeling these, but gentlemen and some ladies, if they're watching this, these are the top reasons why men are not going or not getting their blood work done enough. All right. Number one is fear of bad news. I mean,
I
I
agree.
don't know about you, but I was fearful of that a couple of times back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely agree. My grandfather, I lost my grandfather at an early age, man, 61, to prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Something very, very preventable when diagnosed in the early stages. But he was one of those, he was of that generation. Whatever happens is gonna happen. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that feel that way, unfortunately. But my thing is I try to look at it from the sense of there's people in my life that look to me for X amount of reasons. I need to be there. You
Oh,
know,
no doubt.
you and me both, man. We got kids, we got grandkids, we got, significant others, people that are looking for us to be around. So my
Amen.
thing is, well, we can't sit here and try to wing it. You know what I mean? You're like, listen, you know, it's it's that part right there where people are like, well, you know what? I'm afraid that if I know this, then well, listen, maybe if you do have it, you can catch it early enough to where they can, take care of it. I mean, I know this one person, man, he had got rid of prostate cancer. Then next thing you know, within a year, he was at stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I'm like, man, how did they catch that? When they caught the one thing like a year ago. So I don't know what happened. but I mean, that's just one of those things where it's like, man, go get looked at, man.
Hey, I got you, brother. And this is the second one, embarrassment. They're
Yeah.
afraid to be embarrassed, which I don't think I was ever afraid to be embarrassed about like getting blood work done, but that's one of the top reasons. I mean, uh this is a big one. What you said, feeling invincible.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why a lot of young people don't have insurance. Like, listen, man, it's gonna cost how much for insurance?
Yeah.
Listen, you know what I mean? And it's like, come on now. I'm gonna hold on to that couple of dollars. I ain't been to the doctors in the past X amount of years.
Yep.
I'm as healthy as a horse. You know what I'm saying? Why? It's not till you get older that you realize, oh, okay, I need that, because now, my jump rate is high as it was. My back ain't,
Mhm.
my, you know what I mean? Just anything, man. So it's like, but that's just, I think, human behavior with young people and going through progressions of growth and understanding. Listen, all right, well, this is what you need to have. Just like trying to get them to understand you need to save money. You need to save
Yeah.
money now for the long term. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, man. But as we get older, as we are in our 50s, we realize the importance, man. Insurance, man. It's like, listen, there's a lot of things that you can go without, but you need some coverage in life.
Oh,
You know
well,
what I mean?
well,
So
I tell you, do you know the men that was the highest number was in 30 to 40s range? Felt invincible.
I can see that. I do. Because like take us right now. We're in our 50s. We both go to the gym. I feel pretty good, when I'm in the gym, when I come out the gym. I feel strong. And that probably carries over my attitude. Probably the same with you. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a confidence that comes with that. But you can't confuse that confidence with arrogance, because then it's like, all right, well, now you're sick, or you got whatever, and you wasn't taking care of yourself, or you wasn't taking care of you taking your vitamin. Like I take, vitamins every day and so forth, just for my,
Yeah.
maintaining. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta be smart about it, man. So and a lot of us, a lot of young people, a lot of young males, they can't get in front of their own ego. Now you're like, man, I'm jammed up. Now your woman taking care of you and you're in your feelings,
Getting there, right?
right?
Well, this is another one, brother. Lack of awareness. Because that was me. I
Yeah.
too. I mean, I was kind of know about the blood work thing, but the lack of awareness, I didn't know the testosterone was separate from regular blood work. I didn't know none of that. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I was right there with you, man. So it's like that's why my thing is, when you have shows like this, hopefully people can get the word out because you always hear the negative stuff, man. So when you get somebody on there giving you some positive feedback about something, somebody may be like, yo, you know what? I never even thought about that. Okay, yeah. Well, you don't have enough people talking about it, because it's not that important, or you don't have that type of people in your circle that's preaching it. You know what I mean? So like,
Don't get into the circle, man. We could talk about that for days, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
we all been through circles. We all had many circles, baby, and a lot of broken.
It's like that, man. Certain people are in your life just for that particular season,
Yes.
and it's like, okay, well, sometimes people look at you like, oh, well, you used to do this with me. Well, I'm not doing that no more. I'm not in the streets no more. I got a wife, I got kids, I got responsibilities. You still running the streets in and out the strip clubs or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Those days is over.
Mm-hmm.
I got responsibilities, or I'm trying to build this business, and you still sitting here, shooting craps on the corner, throwing your money away. I'm trying to be responsible, so I can't have you in my circle right now because the negative energy that you're bringing is not contributing to what I'm trying to do. And it's not saying you're better than anybody.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? But you got to have people in your circle that's helping you grow.
Oh, yeah.
And if all they bringing is negative energy, listen, man, y'all can miss me with all that. I'm trying to build here. Like this platform here. You don't need nobody telling you all the negative. So listen, you know what's going on. Speak positive energy and into what I'm trying to do, and we can grow together. So that's just
All right. Down, these are the last three right here, which I can relate to because this is one of the reasons why is work schedule, lack of time, And what you said financially. Now, work schedule, I'm not gonna lie to you, I probably cancel a lot of blood work appointments in my
Okay.
30s and 40s, a lot.
Yeah.
Come up
Yeah.
with different excuses. I can relate to the invincibility. I'm not sick, I'm good. I'm not worried about nothing, right? I'm not worried about anything. But to touch on what you said earlier, right? You said right now you had a friend that went through something. If he would got checked out earlier, maybe it would have like
Yeah.
stopped it.
Yeah.
I had someone that was close to me. He thought he was invincible for many, many years. And I mean, he same thing with prostate cancer. And I saw the effects of this man. And I saw him just deteriorating away. It just like crushed my heart. And that's when by seeing that made me go get my levels checked, my blood work done like every year. I was going like twice a year, even beyond this graph right here, right? Because I was getting scared, I was getting nervous. Because in my family history, the number one my family is colon and prostate cancer. And for African American men, that's a big time for us. You know what I mean? Big for us. And also high blood pressure, heart disease. So like getting everything done. But I didn't know how separate it was. You had to get this one checked for this one checked this, and that. They don't do different levels. Like when you got that done, you spun off something that made me go back to get all these different other tests.
Right.
So thank you for that right there, sir. I appreciate you.
You know, you just touched base on something, Lou, when you was talking about cholesterol and pressure. I mean, imagine not going to the doctors, right? All your life, you just stuff in your face with fast food and stuff that, high sugar. And I mean, then you don't realize you got an issue until you have a heart attack or you have a stroke. And it's just like, you could have a long time ago had your numbers would have told you, this is high and this is bad. You know what I mean? So we could have prevented a lot of this if you would have wanted to go look at earlier. So that's my thing, man. You don't want to wait until something happens. And then it's like, well, if you'd have came to see me sooner, it ain't doing me no good now. You know what I mean? But that's where we at with it, man.
Now let me ask you a question.
What's up?
I don't know if you ever heard this question before. I'm going to as a being a man, right?
Yeah.
I asked you a question earlier about that's not the question. No, matter of fact, that is the question right now. What is your definition of being a man? Like what is it to you? Because a lot of people have different ways of saying it, but I want to hear your definition of being a man.
There's a couple things that goes into that. One is responsibility, taking ownership of the situation, regardless of what it is. My oldest son one time said to me, I think he was about 16, and he said, we were talking about finances, and he said, Dad, something. I'm not really too worried about it because I'm gonna have you there to help me figure it out. And I appreciated him having that confidence in me, but I had to explain to him my thought process, how I deal with things, because one day I'm not going to be here. So you need to know how I think when I'm doing problem solving. And one was I take assessment of the situation, and well, the first thing I do is I pray. I pray for guidance and wisdom and how to solve whatever it is I'm going through. Then I make the best assessment of what I have right in front of me. Because it's easy for somebody Monday morning quarterback. Oh, you should have did this. Hey, listen, you weren't there in the moment. I was in the moment. This is what I decided to do, which I thought was the best course. So I make the best assessment of the situation that I can. And then I make a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. And after that, I accept responsibility for the outcome. Because my thing is, it's easy to go, well, you know what? Lou told me, well, Lou ain't here.
Yep.
Yep. Well, such and such did it. Well, hey, listen, we're talking about you. You know what I mean? So my thing is, listen, own up to it, because that tells me a lot about your character. Being a man to me has a lot to do with how you conduct yourself, not necessarily, and you hear this saying all the time, when everybody's watching, but how you conduct yourself when nobody's looking.
Yep.
You might be that person who's, oh, ain't nobody looking. Let me sweep that underneath the carpet. Man, listen.
Bro, hold on a second, Don.
What's up?
I want you to repeat that because I'm trying to get that in their brain because I've been saying that for the longest time. Repeat that one more time, sir.
Listen, you know, accept responsibility for whatever decisions or whatever situations you find yourself in. All right. Don't look to point the finger because that tells me more about, regardless of what the situation is, it tells me more about you pointing the finger that X did it or she did it rather than you just accepting it. Because my thing is, I could work with you. You know, you're not somebody who's going to try to shift it because you know there's going to be some punishment. You know, you're somebody that I feel like I can build with. And it's all about relationship building, man. And I'm going to tie this kind of around to where we are back here with.
Yeah, good.
That's one of your strong points as far as how we got to 30,000 followers, as far as your ability in relationship building. Now, regardless how many people you think I may have introduced you to, it doesn't even matter. If you would have never built a relationship with me, you know, we would have never had that episode for Meant to Be. You know, we would have never reconnected and then bonded how we've been bonding over these past, you know, couple months and so forth. You know what I mean? So once again, my thing is, as a man, you know, anybody can come around and, you know, you can just kick it with this, that, and the other. But you pay attention to character traits, you know, you pay attention to, you know, all right, well, is this somebody who's just in my circle who just likes to kind of run and gossip about everything that I'm saying? Because I'm like, I don't need that. You know, I need somebody, you know, that I can trust, have confidence in, maybe bounce some things off. They can bounce things off me. And we have an understanding that what's going on between us stays between us.
Gotcha.
You know, so once again, and I know I'm kind of throwing a lot in there as far as a word salad with
That's all right.
definition of it, but it just boils down, man, to your character and you accepting responsibility. You know, you might make a lot of mistakes. That's fine. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. You know, I mean, I tell my wife, you know, one of the things I struggle with, dog, one of the things I struggle with is making the bed. I get out the bed, man, and rather than just making it, I'll go do this, I'll go do that, I'll go get some coffee. And then I'll be thinking, man, I gotta go back and make the bed. And she'll laugh at me. Yeah, I mean, she'll get up and she'll just do it, you know, but I'll bring it up like, man. But you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, you know what, get in front of it, get it done, get it out the way.
You know what, Don, I may cut you off, right? But you said something interesting there.
What's that?
So what is to you? What's the difference between having that talk about being a man and problems? The difference between talking to your boy and talking to your wife or talking to your girl?
Well, it depends, man. You know, once again, it's all about relationships because you might not have that type of relationship with your girl or your wife. You know, you might not be able to talk to your significant other the same way you talk to me.
Yeah.
It might be, all right, I'm with her, something going on. Oh man, I can't wait to talk to him. Why you can't talk to her? I don't know. Maybe just because you don't have that type of understanding. You're not emotionally attached to her in that same way. So it's all, once again, it's about relationships, man. Every relationship is different. So it's like, all right, some people, I remember back in the day when I was younger, I had a female friend who was probably closer to me than a couple of the fellas I hung out with because she was just, you know, she was just right there. And I was like, man, I could confide in her. You know what I mean?
I've had that, brother.
So it just depends on the situation, man. So I had to talk with my oldest son about something similar, you know, about, you know, keeping things confident. You know, he was like, his intentions were good. But my thing was, it wasn't his place to say what he was saying. So I had to explain that to him. So rather than just not saying it, not address it, that would have been just as bad to not address it. I had to kind of, you know, utilize some constructive criticism as far as how things should be done moving forward. You know what I mean? That way he has an understanding. There's no misunderstanding how we move forward here. There's going to be a clear understanding. This is how the dialogue is going to take place in order for us to continue, you know, being friends at this particular stage.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. That's one of the things how, like I said, as far as being a man, being able to confront these things, man. I mean, think about how many times you might see somebody or might be in a situation where constructive criticism is very difficult, especially, the person giving it and the person receiving it, 9 times out of 10 is not going to take it the way they should. So you got to be able to listen. You can't not address it because it's hard. You got to do the hard work. It's like being in the gym, whatever you're trying to do, it's not going to do it by itself, man. You look in the mirror and that's a result of your hard work. So
Facts.
you got nobody to blame. Arms won't grow. Well, you ain't working hard enough. You need to figure something else out. You need to shock the muscle somehow. Same thing with relationships, man. You see people, they'll let things slide because it's uncomfortable. They might be intimidated. Oh, he looks tough, or she looks this, or she might say that. Listen, part of my perception of what manhood is, once again, is dealing with difficult topics, and understanding it might not turn out the way you want it to. And I'm not saying be a tough guy or be a hero, but you have to be able to address it, and this is just something that you learn as you get older and you mature and you go through different things in life.
Well, brother, I can tell you, you just kicked off what I was going to talk about next.
Okay.
Dealing with things mentally. We are probably the worst at it. Dealing with mental health issues. When you're feeling down. Let me ask you a question: like, when you're feeling down, how do you handle it? Do you keep it inside? Do you isolate yourself? Do you do you talk to your girl about it? Or something like that? Because the number two things big time is keep it inside and isolating yourself, because we're like number one in mental health. And especially, I don't know if you knew this or not, what shocked me, men from 50 to 55 in the last 2 years have spiked up 39% mentally.
Wow.
Mentally. So how do you handle that, keeping everything inside? Like, because I know you have a wife now, but
Right.
before, like, was that tough for you? Because you remember back in the day, man, like, no, we the same, man. We grew up in an era where you supposed to suck it up. That's just life. There wasn't this what was it? Mental health. There's none of that. It was just life. Like, you gotta suck this up. You gotta be a man.
Yeah.
You gotta be a man and suck it up, right? Keep it inside. So I'm gonna ask you this right here. How'd you change from that? Did you change from that? And I mean, did you keep it more inside when you're younger? How you deal with it now? And the most important issue, the most important question, I know it's a loaded question. Did you let out emotion? Because that's the biggest one against us. How did you handle that? And did you let out emotion with that?
Okay. That is a loaded question. All right. So
sorry about that, bro. I told you we gonna get deep with this.
It's all right. When I was younger, I didn't have the same thought process that I share with you that I share with my son. That's something I had to develop in order to figure out everyday problems to work through. Because my thing was, I was the head of my household and people looked at me and I had to make a decision. I'm the last line of defense.
Yeah.
So I had to accept the fact that whatever decision I made, I was just going to have to deal with that. And I was okay with that. I'm okay with getting it completely wrong because of whatever reasons, but understanding I was the one who had to make a decision. Nobody else did.
Wait, one second. You said you're okay with, was you okay with it then or now?
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm thinking that when I was raising a young family, I had to have a particular mindset because somebody had to, establish the rules on how they want to go.
Facts.
Right? So prior to having a family, I think I may have just sucked it up. And that has a lot to do with going back to when I was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
The Marine Corps is a lot of things, man. It teaches you a lot about life and yourself and how to just kind of compartmentalize things, but you also have a way of dealing with it internally.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like you said, you chose the right phrase, you suck it up.
Yep.
Um, but as I got older, you start having kids and so forth. You it's only so much you can take before you start to explode. You need to have an outlet.
Mhm.
So my thing was, you got to establish the rules and you got to stick to them. Because they look at you. Oh, well, you said this, but now you're doing that. I know.
Oh,
I don't want to
oh,
be a hypocrite. You know
oh,
what I mean?
oh my
So,
God. Have I heard that so much?
right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So now you got another situation because now it's not so much as what you said. Now it's the follow through.
Mm.
You got to follow through because you said it. you know, or they're looking at you like, his bark is worse than his bite,
Yep.
or you know what? So now you're in a bad situation. So sometimes you find yourself having to do things because you have to out of principle. I'm just talking about punishment and so forth. Sometimes you don't get it right, man. You know, I had plenty of times where I got it wrong more than I got it right. You
You
know, and my
did
thing
better than me.
is, my thing is I did the best I could with what I had. They're still here, all of them. They grown, they doing what they doing. Listen, and I'm like, I can't beat myself up because I was at work or whatever the situation was.
Mhm.
I did what I could with the time that I had, and I don't have any regrets over that. Regardless, if y'all may feel as though I didn't give you enough time or whatever, I get that. But when you start thinking about what you're doing, you start to realize you're not going to be able to please everybody. Somebody's going to be disappointed because somebody's going to feel as though they're being cheated.
Bruh.
And you got to be able to accept that. Listen, all right, in your mind, I screwed up. I get that. And you got to figure out how to move on from that. I had
How
to.
was the pressures from that, Don? How was the pressure? Like, cause
Um,
that's a lot, man. Like, especially back to what I said. Like, keep it. Did you keep that in? Like I mean, like the pressure of it. I understand you went about your role. You led your family. The ups and downs. You did the best you could.
right.
But like the inside of it, though. Talk to me about that, man. Because I mean, that's a deep thing for us.
It is, man. I'm gonna be real. I'm no different than anybody else, man. You feel however you feel. Can't nobody tell you any different than how you feel. You might have misunderstood the situation, but it doesn't change how you feel inside. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You hurting. You upset. You angry. So now you got to take a step back to figure out how you're going to display this. What's your outlet? Because you don't want to be reckless and find yourself in jail. You know what I mean?
Huh. Yeah,
So
got that right. Yeah.
but so you got to figure out, as far as what do I do? How do I relieve myself of this stress? I can tell you what I do now.
Okay.
One, I depend on my wife. She's my wife. I unload on her as far as what's on my mind. Because my thing is, I'm not about to carry all that weight by myself. I'm like, listen, I'm going to share this with you. We're going to figure this out. And she helps me get through that. Another thing, being as though we're talking about mental health, is the gym is very therapeutic for me.
Mhm.
I go there, I got goals, things I'm trying to accomplish, and it just takes my mind off of anything else. It's just rewarding. But that's now. But like you said, back then, my thing was I just had to kind of figure out how not to blow up, and you find yourself in situations where, they say, you need to think before you speak. Well, I used to speak a whole lot before I thought because I was angry, you know. I was upset over whatever it was, and I had to figure out how to deal with conflicts better, conflict resolution. And I started understanding conflict resolution and started thinking about different ways of how to deal with it. And but it's one of those things, man, where sometimes you don't know because you just don't know until you're in that situation. How do I deal with it? So a lot of times, man, hopefully you're able to just kind of, you know, call somebody, talk to somebody, maybe a boy, maybe a girl, kind of walk away from it kind of vent, you know. But like I said, man, I'm no different than anybody else, man. I mean, I wasn't going around vandalizing this or tearing this up or whatever. That wasn't me. But I can understand some people. That's how they display their outrage, which is unfortunate because a lot of times jail terms come behind that when you're being. But I'm not saying that I wasn't one who was above maybe punching a hole in the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm heated over whatever the situation was, but I needed something to release that outlet on.
Okay, but let me ask you this though. I'm sorry to cut you off though.
No, you're good.
You said you like, because all of us have this, all of us go through this, like letting it out. I have to say, of every brother I talk to, even myself, like we're more like with the stress of life every day we're living. We're more putting out anger and we have to release it somewhere else. But there's one thing I notice a lot of us do not do. And we get shamed on this, even from a young age, and sometimes to today. We do not cry. Okay. When women cry, I've seen, and it releases everything. It releases a lot of stress off them. I'm gonna tell you something real quick. I was always told by my grandparents that a real man do not cry. They told me that from childbirth all the way up to now. Well, to adulthood. And I have not. I may shed tears.
Right.
But I have cried alone. Right. And there's one little thing I forgot to mention. She told me this. I don't know if you go agree with this or not. Or you might have heard this or not. She told me, this is coming from an old down south black woman. A real man does not cry around a female. This is old school. This is what she told me. Don, let me tell you something right now. I have never shed a tear or cried in front of any female in my life, ever. That's the first time I've ever said that. I've never done it. Ever.
Okay.
Have you ever shed a tear or cried in front of your wife now or any female? Because that's a lot of men cannot cry. A lot of men feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed. They feel weak, especially around other men. Right. Other men will call you a punk or other words. So how do you deal with that? How have you done it?
So I'm gonna be real with you, Lou. I've heard the same thing. I'm crying, and I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. I get emotional when I watch like certain things on TV, movies and stuff. Me and my wife, we watch, whatever. Father and son bonding moments. Just depends on what it is. Sometimes a romance or whatever, and I'm good with that. I remember I cried on The Lion King. Be honest with you, I ain't afraid to say it. My man Mufasa died. I was upset. Wow. You know what I'm saying? I was upset when I watched John Q. When Denzel was looking at his son. You know what I'm saying?
I shed a tear. I ain't gonna lie. I shed a tear on that part. I did.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying I'm good with that because this is going to take us back to what you asked me previously before about being a man.
Yeah.
Lou, I'm good, man. When my kids were growing up, I remember having a buddy of mine who was like one of 7. And he said, my father never told me he loved me, but I knew he loved me because he came home every night. I said, wow. Me, I told my kids I love them all the time. Love 2 boys and a girl. I kissed my boys on their forehead. I kissed my daughter all the time, even as they was growing up. Because my thing was, I am not going to let some stereotype interfere with the love I have for my children. I know what type of man I am. You know what I mean? Once again, being a man, understanding how do I overcome these stereotypes? Well, I'm the first to tell you. You know what I'm saying? I'll be the first. I'm good. Yeah. Like I said, I cry with my wife. Man, she'd be looking at me, and I'll be like, and it's just I'm not. Oh man, I ain't gotta do nothing but just be who I am, and I'm comfortable with that.
Facts.
You know what I mean? I mean, my thing is, if we want to get into names or whatever, I'm a little bit older now to where my thing is, I like to believe I'm above that. But my thing is, my words are better for you understand, and my actions are better for determining what type of man I am. You know what I mean? Like I can sit here and tell you that I cried, and you're like, all right, well, I ain't know that. But we still cool. Yeah. We talk about other things that we probably didn't know about each other, but we still good because you know me, I know you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So my thing is, okay, I understand how some men may feel like I don't know if I was talking to you or somebody else about it, but I think it might have been you. We was talking about, domestic abuse. There's a stat somewhere, and I'm sure you probably can find it about men that get abused by their wives. But I know dudes ain't talking about it because they're like, yo, I don't want to be looked at. You know what I mean?
104 million. 104
Yeah,
million in the world.
right. I don't want to be looked at a certain way. But because society says, yo, one time me and T was watching this show, right? I forget what it was. And I'm sitting here look because I fall in that category too. So we watching this show, some show or whatever, one of those whodunits or whatever. And this big dude, right? He was assaulted. I mean, they jacked this dude up.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
got assaulted by these two little 5 foot nothing women. And I'm sitting there like, yo, he like 6 something.
What is this?
Man, it was some show we was watching, and he swinging and they took it from him, and I was just like, dude, as big as you are, what I'm saying? But see, that's the stereotype, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, I'm I'm falling right into it. But I thought it was funny, man, because I said, man, you can't sit there like these. I mean, they was like 5 foot nothing. They just beat him down. He like 6 something, and I'm like, man, I wouldn't even be able to go on TV and talk about that. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean, man. So my thing is, whatever his situation was, is what it is. So I can understand, you fighting through that stigma. Men don't put their hands on women. Men don't do this. Men don't do that. My thing is, communication is always the key. I talk about kissing my boys on the forehead out of love because that's the love I have for them. Love my daughter. My thing is, I'm not gonna be limited on how I show them, but I'm showing them steps on how to be men, on how to be adults. You know what I mean? So my thing is, I'm not a soft man, but my thing is, I might not have all the tendencies that you think, or I may have the tendencies, and you might be like, yo, well, I didn't know you had that. Yeah, because I'm not afraid to be able to be who I am. That's part of man. Because my thing is, you're not going to sit here and tell me how to run my household. However you run your household, it's fine, But when you come here, you won't buy my rules.
I love this. Don, I'm telling you right now, we gonna wind this down.
Sure.
There's so many issues out there we'll talk about, but don't worry about it, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming back because he to me, he's one of the experts. To my opinion, I don't know what he gonna think about. We go deep dive something in the future about men and how they handle relationships and marriage.
You know what, real quick before you go there, you talked about mental health, and I want to touch base on that real quick. Because mental health, man, when you hear it, you think, oh, depression, bipolarism,
anxiety,
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And it's but the one thing that I think we all deal with, and we have it, is stress.
Oh God, yes.
Stress is a killer. That right there alone, stress will have you sitting on your roof talking to pigeons, talking about, oh, I can't believe she said this to me.
He said talking to pigeons. Yeah, but what movie is that from? Oh my God. Yeah, you got to spend movie references, bro.
Listen, man. But I'm saying,
what is that from? I know it was something.
No, it just popped in my head.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
But you know what I mean? It's stress, man. People respond differently.
Yeah.
Stress, and they don't realize, man, that right there, it's like, boom, that's probably the number one reason, man, why your pressure is where it's at, and people start acting out at work and start doing the unforgivable, stress.
Yes.
It's like, man, so it's not what you might think it is, man. Yeah, you got some people that they, bipolar and depression and anxiety and so forth, man, but stress, man. That's why my thing is, I pour a lot into my wife. My wife is my best friend, and she helps me get through anything I'm dealing with. So I like to believe it's a two-way streak. But man, when I'm going through something, she is the first person that I'm going to. And we won't work through it because I can't. I'm to the point, man, where I'm not necessarily trying to have to deal with stuff by myself. I don't want to sit here and be sitting on this all day and trying to figure. I'm gonna share with her. We're gonna figure it out together because I figured I'll share with her. We might be able to get through it quicker. Not that. Oh man, I'm a man. I'm not going. No, nah. Listen, this was going on for work, babe. This is going on dude down the street or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm sharing it with her. But see, once again, that's relationships. Every relationship is different. Some people feel like, well, my role is to absorb all this because of who I am, my status in the household. She's doing this or he's doing that. And that's okay if that works for you.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I'm looking at my own mental health. I don't need to be taking on anything extra trying to figure out how to figure this out, deal with this. And then my marriage is suffering because she's trying to figure out, well, why are you acting like that? And I'm not talking to her because I'm so focused on what's going on with the job. That's why, some people say, man, when I leave a job, I leave that stuff at the job. Don't take it home with you.
Hell no. I'll never take it home for me, bro. It never comes back to me.
Some people do. You know what I mean? They bring it home down in that part of your relationship. It's like, come on, you just got to do it. But
never.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that in there, man. Because like I said, stress, man, is sometimes you can't control it because sometimes you may live or work in a stressful environment, but you got to figure out a way to have some sort of outlet or it's just going to beat you down. It takes years.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Donny, I got one last question for you, brother.
What's that, bro?
What are you most proud of in your life so far?
Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see. One, my children, 3 grandchildren. The fact that I'm in a stable, loving marriage with once again, my best friend. And people throw that around, but she really is because we just, even when we're not being husband and wife, we just being 2 big kids.
We know. I know. I see all the time. Trust me. I know. All right.
But I'm proud. There's a lot of things in there, man. I'm school. My wife's helping me. I'm about to get my degree. I'm working out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my man. So, but most probably just knowing that I did as good as I could as far as being a father, because your children are your legacy. You can't. All you can do is try to instill the best in them, and hopefully they don't put themselves in situations. I don't want to spend a lot of time with kids because I know but you ask me, and I'm in the 52nd year of my life right now, man, and I'm probably in the best place because I'm happy mentally. I'm in the best physical condition of my life because now I'm studying and learning more about the body. And I'm proud that I guess I was able to, get in front of, not get out of my own way, I should say.
Yeah.
And to grow, because sometimes, you get these blockages, man, and you get stuck. I will get stuck, and having a supportive partner will point that out to you. My wife will point it out to me. You stuck on this. Yeah, okay. So I don't know if it's any one particular thing, Lou, to be honest with you, man, but I know, like I said, man, this is probably going to start with my kids because every parent, you got a responsibility. You're always going to be parents, but you got that window where it's like, listen, all right, I got to make sure don't nothing happen. Once you get out, you on your own or you're doing whatever, I'm still going to be there, but boom, So I'm like, God, at least they were able to do that. But man, I'm proud of the fact that I'm more open to learning and developing, more than what I was. And once again, my wife is a big part of that because she's able to point things out to me and I'm able to kind of go, okay, well, I need to figure out how to expand on that. And I mean, I could just be locked into what I know and not open to growing, you know, but I'm open. And my thing is, you asked me the other day, you asked me about working out. And my biggest reason is one for my overall health, what I'm trying to accomplish. But also, what I didn't tell you was, you know, also for my wife, you know. And I told her she deserved to have a dude with some muscles, man. She earned it. You know what I'm saying? She earned that putting up with me.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Dog, I love you, dog. I do. I want everybody to know how proud I am of you. How proud I am, and learning from you. I mean, you think I haven't, but I have. I haven't learned a lot from you. By our conversations, and how way, you know what I'm saying, right? Like you carry yourself, and how way, you know what I'm saying, right? That you actually like changed careers, and you're doing very well with that, and went back to school. I mean, I was talking to Cindy about that, and we had deep conversation about that, and I told her that I'm going to not pity pack, but pity or copy, but I'm going to like follow your trail a little bit. I'm doing my own way. So that's what I'm doing as well. Which I talked to you about that before as well. But you inspired me to do that, man. I just want I listen. I'm not just saying it just for no podcast and nothing like this and that. That's just real talk. I've already told you this already, but I'm gonna tell you too again because I want everybody to know that you are inspiration. You're an inspiration to other brothers out here. You was a inspiration force to why I wanted Brothers Talk, for two brothers to talk about certain issues and stuff like that. It can help out maybe one or two or three or four brothers. Because a lot what everybody says, oh, I want to help out thousands, this and that. If you can help out one or two, which you did for me for my episode that had nothing to do with that. Yeah, I mean, we talking about relationships, and it took me on a different one, and then I told somebody else out, and they told somebody else. So you affected three people, brother. I ain't tell you that part. Three people, which we all did not know that. We all went out there. So I want to thank you for that as well. Don, I appreciate your time, sir. I thank you so much for coming on, being my first guest. And yes, he will be back. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, because I know it was like, because I told your wife T, it was like 7 females didn't believe you were real. And yes, he is real. Yes, he is that. He is that husband that she talked about right here. He is Mr. Real. So he's real. He not fake. No man does that. No man does that. Well, yes, he does.
Dude,
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming on.
thanks, Lou, man. Looking forward to doing it again, brother. You have a good one. God bless.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time on Brothers Talk with Lou J, and also episodes of Let's Talk About with Lou J. If you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, give it a share. If you listen on audio, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and now Audible, give it a download. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll check you out next time.